Welcome to the True Talk Cafe podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited you're here. Our podcast will tackle a myriad of topics, ranging from relationships to personal development and everything in between. My name is Renee Stewart, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ana Garcia, Carla Decor, and Lali Ramirez Bennett. Collectively, we span 4 generations. Can you believe that? We've all experienced ups and downs in our personal lives and professional careers that have qualified us to share our unique perspectives with you, and we're excited to do so. But before we get into today's content, I wanted to let you know where you can find us on social media. On Instagram and Facebook, you can use at True Talk Cafe, and on Twitter, you can use at True Talk Cafe 1. Don't forget to like us, rate us, and leave a review. We value your feedback. We want to ensure that we are providing content that resonates with you. So please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts. Spoiler alert, you will want to stay tuned to hear what our guests are going to share about this exciting topic today. Also, stick around to find out how you can join us on a live show. We would love to have you join us on one of our episodes. Now, let's get started. Welcome. I have a question for you today. My question is, who do people say you are? We all know that we have a personal brand, whether you know it or not, right? It's what makes you tick and what makes you you, right? So in today's episode, we're calling, Who Do You Say I Am? We're going to discuss the impact your personal brand has on how people perceive who you are. And Ana, can you start us off?
Yeah. So guys, whether your brand is created intentionally or accidentally, it's essential to recognize you have to choose to be intentional about investing in it or not. It can have a material impact on your career, your success, and your personal and professional fulfillment. But it's not all about you, and it certainly isn't about self-promotion or selfie. Personal brand is ultimately about what you can contribute to something bigger than yourself. It's a culmination of your unique talent, perspective, knowledge, intuition, and ideas that you share for the benefit of others. This is what defines your personal brand. Now, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the topic with some questions that we're going to all address. Lali, do you have the first question for us?
I sure do, Ana. What is personal branding and why is it important in today's professional world?
So I think the easiest way to say what a personal brand is literally what Renee started us off with. Who do they think you are? What did your social media, your presence, your person say about you, right? So personal brand, and this is why we say it's not always an intentional creative brand, right? It could be accidental. But the way you carry yourself, the way you walk into the room, the way you address people, it's your brand. It's who you are. And our brand is what defines us not only within our homes, but in the professional environment. And it is something that can catapult you in the right direction when it is appropriate and leveraged right. And it's something that can hurt you. All 3 of these ladies that I'm sitting on here today have an amazing personal brand. How do I know? Because we connected over each other's brand. We've all been able to land opportunities based on people's trust in us from what we've developed and created throughout the years, which is another important thing, right? It's not something that happens overnight. So I would just say a personal brand is what you allow others to think about who you are. And that emphasizes your worth and value in both the personal and professional arena.
And I would just add too, I think it also shows like how people describe you when they want to provide a quick 1-minute introduction of you. If I have to tell someone about Renee, I will say, if you want something done, that is the person you want to connect with, right? So there's just little things that we've done with that person that allows us to describe them in a 1-minute, essentially commercial for them. How do you describe them? What are you known for? But also sometimes it could be the way you look. I have a friend who, when I describe her, I always say the person that always has a scarf on, because that is her brand. She likes to wear a scarf wherever she goes, even if it's 115 degrees outside. She always wears a pretty scarf around her, and that is her brand. So when I describe her, I use that to describe her. So it can be something that is related to your skills, but also something related to how you look.
Yeah, we have our favorite photographer. She always wears that signature hat.
Well, that is
Right?
Very true.
yeah, very
Love it.
true. So next question is, how do you know if it is that you're building your professional brand or your personal brand? What is the difference between the two?
I think I'd like to tackle this one. Having worked for a very large corporation for many, many years, I thought that my professional reputation was tied solely to that name, right? When I decided to retire a couple of years ago, I thought it would be a difficult break between who Lolly was and what my professional reputation was, right? And and I think that that's where the intentionality of what you're doing throughout your life, how consistently you do it, speaks volumes, even if you don't try to do much more, right? So your personal brand is who you are. When people heard that I had retired, they didn't skip a beat. Now it's okay. So what are you up to now, Lolly? Right? It's not about that professional reputation and what I used to do, because that can change. And working now in the coaching arena, a lot of times when people present a resume to me, the first thing that you do is that they see it's almost an advertisement for their previous or their current employer. And the reality is it shouldn't be. It should be about what it is that you bring to the table. What do you do differently? That to me is the personal brand and the difference between that professional reputation and the personal branding that you have to have.
I love it. And I want to add to that, guys. So I think a personal brand and a professional reputation are essentially two different things. You can have the same personal and professional brand because you're one person, right? At the end of the day. So you're still going to carry yourself how you carry yourself. There's only certain things and certain behaviors that we can try to suppress in real life. And so when you think about brand, I want you to listen to the question, right? And it's like Lolly said, it's a personal brand versus a professional reputation. My professional reputation, people tell you she's hardworking, she'll always get it done, she's always going to meet the deadlines, she goes above and beyond, blah, 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 blah. That's my professional reputation because that's what I do. But within that lies my personal brand, right? It's me. It's who delivers to the table. And the same thing for each and every one of us. Our personal brand and our professional reputation, they're intertwined, but they're not the same thing because we carry that personal brand everywhere we go. And if we're doing volunteer work, we're going to still do it with the same professional commitment we've always had because that's our brand. So it doesn't really matter what environment you're in. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could be a kids club. It could be anything. If we give it in our office based on our personal brand, it's on what we are used to delivering because that's what makes it us. And I will share something that our personal brand is something that is created not only by our intentionality, but our experiences. We live and we learn and we take that behavior and it is presented to others, right? We learn from our historical practices. We learn from our socioeconomic backgrounds. We learn from all the things that we're used to. And that creates our personal brand because it's our reactions are our brand, right? Carla said it. Even the way you dress. I was always known for my heels. Anna always had heels and her nails done. Everybody knew Anna had heels and her nails done. And that was my brand.
Right. That's right. That's right. So wait, so that brings up another question, right? How is it that sometimes your professional brand begins to impact your personal brand and vice versa? And you made me think, what you just said made me think about a story that a colleague of mine shared because he cuts his hair every day. Every day he gets a haircut. And he said that came about because when he was moving up in his career, one of his supervisors told him in one of his one-on-one meetings that he will never promote him because of his hair, because his hair was always messy. And he felt that that wasn't professional. And he didn't think of him as a professional that could be in a leadership role because of how his hair looked. So he said that ever since then, he began cutting his hair every day. And now he is known for that, for always being sharp, clean, and having a very clean haircut because it's done every day, right? So now that he does that automatically, whether he's going to work or not. So that became a part of his personal brand.
We just talked about this, right, Lolly? Sunday?
Which they
We
did.
just talked about it. I always wear a blazer. Have you ever seen me without a blazer? That started a long time ago, and I never wear bright colors until recently because my very first job was black and white. I had to wear black slacks or black skirts, and back then with hose and a white top. And so I always like to have the blazer if I'm going to be dressed like that. So I wouldn't look like a waitress. I would have had the blazer. And then when I went to corporate America, all of my colleagues were male, and I gray suit. And I think Renee and I had this conversation the week before that. Gray suit, black suit, navy blue suit. The only thing that ever shined, and this is probably what that was my brand, Darlene, you agree with this one, you said, was my shoes. My shoes were a different color because I was like, I don't want to lose the white hair, but I've never really been a colored person. So I don't wear all the bright colors. And I actually felt awkward, but I think it was embedded in me for so long that that's what I do now, trying to navigate into the bright colors and being more bold. But, it's interesting you bring that up, Carlin. I think, Renee, you were going to share something on that note.
Yeah, it kind of transitions into the next question, which is, how can individuals align their self-perception with how others perceive them? So when you're talking about, certain colors that you wear, right? And you wear a blazer. I used to be like that too. And then I kept saying, okay, I looked in my closet and I'm like, okay, I need some color. So I need to intentionally do it. And then I always was known for wearing pants or pantsuits. So then I said, okay, I need to wear dresses now. So I would buy nothing but dresses and with bolder colors because I was trying to change my brand just a little bit, to mix it up a little bit because I was going into different rooms and it fit better. And for who I was now, you know what I mean? So before I worked with a lot of men. I was in engineering environment. So I wore more pants. So now that I'm, in more of a blended type of environment, I tend to wear a mixture of pants and dresses now. So that's, that was kind of an aha moment for me.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Being the purple, I'm going to say that, I think that when you think about your self-perception and how others perceive you, you also have to think about what's right for you. Now, I think about many years ago, one of my cousins told me, Lolly, when are you going to color your hair? You don't want all that gray. You're looking older. And I said, it's funny. I said, I had, when I was younger, I had a baby face. So when I finally started getting gray hair, it was kind of finally like, yay, I can be, considered more at the age that I was. And besides that, I had made a personal decision that I would never color my hair because of something that happened in the past. Anyway, it was my own personal decision, right? And I said, no, I'm not coloring my hair. I said, this is who I am and this is what it is, right? And so I think that in it all, we have to be owners of who it is that we want to be, right? Today, I think my hair is kind of part of my brand, right? If I had to say one of the visuals, it is part of my brand. It's who I am. And I can't wait for the day that my hair is all white. But I also think that it's important that you have an understanding. I mean, sometimes it might hurt me because others might think I'm much older or they might think I'm too old. And so in that respect, I do try this. The same thing came up this weekend about how much I am making an attempt to try to stay very relevant, just try to be current and not necessarily trendy, but to look young. I want to be hip. I want to be, I may have gray hair. I may be 60. It doesn't matter, but I'll still be right in there with my whatever fashionable tennis shoes I want to wear or whatever it is. So I think at the end of the day, when it comes to self perception or how others perceive you, the one thing I would want to leave people with is understand that you get to pick which one it is that you want. And then you have to live with whatever choices you make too.
So I have a story for that because if you notice, I always try to dress professionally. And that is one thing that I'm known for, right? But it all started because I was a business development manager for Nextel before they merged with Sprint. And I had this big account that I really wanted to close to sell Nextel cell phones, the walkie talkies, if people remember that. It was a big account with a Toyota car dealer. And they were going to buy, I think it was about 100, 150 cell phones, right? So I was ready to close that. But I was only 21 years old. And it was just me that went to that meeting with the franchise owner. And we ended up not closing that deal. And I strongly believe that that was because of how I was dressed. And I walked in with just a Nextel polo shirt and my khakis. It was very casual. And I feel they didn't take me serious. They didn't feel that I could deliver on everything that I was promising. And I kind of got that information, or I got that perception based on information that I received after, because I have friends that work there, and that's how I actually got that account or that meeting to begin with. And ever since that day, I decided to change how I look so I could be taken more seriously. So then I began working in corporate America, and I wore a suit every day, even though I didn't have to. And I was really working inside, working behind the phones. I didn't interact with people as much, but I wore a suit every day. And I wore pantyhose as well. Here in Texas, I was in Houston, but I wore the suit, I wore the heels, and I still do. And not even now, I am typically the youngest in the group. I'm typically the only minority in the group as well. But I want people to take me serious. I don't want people to think that I'm too young to know what I'm talking about. I want people to respect my opinion. And because of that, I dress the way that I do. And now, sometimes it's not good because my team members think I'm too serious and I'm not relaxed and everyone is wearing jeans, but I'm not. I do not wear jeans during the week. I only wear jeans on Fridays. And that's a personal choice. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But, it's good because people did begin to take me more serious. But at the same time, my team sometimes feels like I'm too serious and I can't. So I think you have to decide, right, what is it that you want to use that branding for? And at that time, it worked well. Now I'm trying to find a way to be more relaxed.
The struggle is real for all of us.
Yes. Yes.
In our future episode, managing corporate trauma.
Yeah. Seriously.
Right? That's a good one. Just to answer that, after the pandemic, I think a lot of people's personal brands kind of shifted a little bit, probably a little bit more casual. I know for me, it was my hair. My hair, totally different. So I kind of use it now because, when you're starting to transition into a different field. So on one profile, it has, my braids. On the other, it has the other. So it's almost like a demarcation for that transition. But really, it was just out of convenience. And so I kept it. It's just much easier for me. I don't have to take that much time in the morning. So it now has morphed into this is part of my brand, the way I am right now.
Yeah, very good point.
Because I know that before with African American hair, it has been an issue, right? So years back, it was the perception of having braids was not seen as professional. So, that has changed quite a bit. So now I feel comfortable. But I remember when I first started working at my current employer and we had more African American women coming on board, they would come to me because I didn't have braids at the time. They would come to me and ask, is it okay for them to get braids or dreads or anything like that? And will they get in trouble if they change their hairstyle to that? So I thought that was quite interesting, and look how far we've come.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? A follow-up question. So I have follow-up questions. I'm sorry. And I think actually Renee coached me on this. And I still haven't followed up on all of that you coached me on. But if you have someone at work that you think very highly of, but their hair is not done, how do you tell them that it's just not professional? And it's not that they just don't fix their hair, right? So it's part of their brand, but that's not a positive brand for someone that should be in a leadership role because of their skill.
I'll take that one. I've always been one to tackle difficult situations, unfortunately. Maybe some that I didn't even have to do, I got pulled into. But I think it's a matter of just like any feedback that you give somebody, you provide some positive feedback on what they're doing very well. And then I prefer to be very direct, but with some compassion and empathy in that and say, I appreciate the way you dress from a personal, standpoint. Keep in mind that the setting we're in may not be as accepting of that. It has nothing to do with my choice, but you might want to consider trying some different things just because it could help you as the way people perceive you. And I think that in today's world, we have to be very careful that we don't make it about a culture issue, that we don't make it about a personal issue. But it's the fact that the reality is there is always going to be some perceptions by others. And sometimes we don't think about how those things can impact even those.
Another thing that I would add to that, Carla, sometimes it's that person and you have already built a rapport and a level of trust. It's easier. If you haven't and you know someone that does have that relationship, maybe they can assist in that. Because I know as a friend, my friends would tell me, girl, if you don't tell me something, we're not friends anymore.
Right.
So sometimes it's just being honest and approaching it in a way where you're not critiquing. It's use that sandwich effect, right? Positive thing to work on, positive. So, I really love the way you interact with individuals. Your professionalism is great. I do believe that, if your executive presence aligned fully from head to toe, that would help. And do it in a way where it's not your hair looks horrible, it should be a positive. Let me get out brush for you, girl. But it's building that trusting relationship and making sure that you're not feeling the person, because we all have our flaws. And I, for one, appreciate constructive criticism. I appreciate it. I don't always like what I'm hearing, but I will always appreciate it because it does help us. It does grow us. It does improve who we are. And again, just the way we present it has a lot to do with it. The way we, interact with that individual and how we approach the subject, I think it'll be key. So mindful of, if I were in that person's shoes, what would I appreciate?
That's
Absolutely.
true.
You might want to start with, what's their professional goal?
Uh-huh.
That's
true.
Use that as a base, because if, they don't have any designs on going, higher than what they were, then maybe they'll be okay with it. But if
That's
they
true.
do plan to, elevate to, higher visibility, then maybe that conversation needs to be had. So I would find that out first.
Very good. That is a great point. That is very true. And I mean, personally, I would not, that's a double negative, but I would not stop promoting someone because of their hair or how they fix their hair or how they look. But I think it's important to show that you do care about your appearance, because if you care enough about your appearance, you will care about how you deliver the job that you're, trusted to do. Doesn't matter how your hair is fixed. I personally don't care if it's in a ponytail, if it's however, as long as it looks like you did try to fix it. That's all I'm saying.
And that's another good point you make, Carla, because again, you might be that empathetic leader that says, I will promote you, but I don't want you to be capped there. I want you to keep growing. And this is going to be one of those essential pieces, that contribute to that. So, and actually, I think this is a good segue to that other question that we have coming up. What are some common misconceptions people have about their personal brand? So maybe they think their hair looks good and it really doesn't. What are some common misconceptions, guys?
I think a lot of times, especially I've seen this in marketing staff and people that work in creative settings, that because they're in a creative setting, they can dress and wear whatever they want. And I think mostly that is true. But I think that it's important that they also do think about the setting and the people that they're meeting with. While they may be dressed in a creative way while they are on their day-to-day job, if they have a special meeting with executives to maybe present a campaign or something like that, I think it's important to be cognizant of their personal branding, how they're going to be perceived, because those are people that don't work with them on a day-to-day basis. They don't know all that there is to know about that person and why they dress the way they do. And I say that because I used to work with someone he used to dress excellent. He was very creative, but I could see that in some meetings where we brought this person along, some executives that were much older kind of felt, you could tell that they looked at that person a little bit differently when that person walked in the room. So it's just something to be mindful of if it is something that they care about. I mean, if they don't care about that, then that's, I think, a different story.
Yeah, that's a good point, Carla, because you have, 5 generations in the workplace.
Right.
So our Gen Zs are, coming in, and then you have your Vietnamers. So Vietnam era. So that's a wide swath.
That-
And maybe some of the younger generations are a little bit more casual in the kind of dress codes right now are more business casual. And then after the pandemic, because people were home and, they were business on the top, party on the bottom. So, right?
Wallets, please. Wallets.
Right. Well, and then when they were asked to come back in the office, they had to transition out of that, level of comfortability. So I found myself sending out our dress code policy quite a bit. Quite a bit. And I've had to say, hey, I have, asked you guys several times. Now what I'm going to do, if you are violating the dress code, you'll be asked to go home. And the time that you're out of this office, you will be charged PTO. That's where we're at. Because they're just like so used to being so casual, even though we don't have a lot of foot traffic in our office, but it's still business casual.
Okay.
So,
I think another misconception, guys, is people thinking they don't need to worry about a personal brand. It's like, why? I'm not Oprah. Why do I need to have a personal brand, right? And I'm sure you ladies have seen this when we're talking to career transitions. Like, what do you mean I have to develop my personal brand strategy? Like, yes. What do you want to be seen as an expert in? What do you want people to know about you? That skill sets that bring. And we all, whether, like I said, whether it's accidental or intentional, we all are walking around with their personal brand. Everybody sees their personal brand. So if you are not aware, or if you think I don't need a personal brand, know that you have created a personal brand. And maybe it's a good time to assess that and think about, well, what do I want people to know? Which is why I kind of love the introductions, right? Who do they say you are? Because what are people saying about you? Carla said it best. It's that commercial or that 1-minute elevator pitch that somebody else can give on your behalf when you're not in the room. So what do you want that to sound like? And I think that's a very common misconception that, I don't need a brand. I'm not in marketing. I'm not on social media. I'm not a YouTuber or a TikToker or whatever that is anymore. So I would say that maybe assessing, aligning, and rethinking a strategy on your personal brand is ideal.
Yeah.
And I will add to that too, that a lot of people think that because they're not in a leadership role, they don't need to worry about their brand. To add to what you just said. So I think it's important that they know that I know I am always looking at people when they are not aware that I am looking. And whenever there is an opportunity, I prefer to hire and promote from within and someone that I already know, that I know I can trust them to do a good job. And that personal brand is going to be the number one key component of choosing who is that person that I will approach. And I've heard that from many other leaders. So I think the personal brand is important for people to understand that it's not only for those that are in a leadership role. It's really for everyone because they are always watching.
Right. And it's not just your personal brand either, because when you're working in an organization has a brand, right?
Mhm.
So whether you like it or not, if you're on social media, if you're going to a meeting, meeting with vendors, you're bringing your personal brand, but you're also bringing and representing the company's brand.
Mm.
So you have to be very
Absolutely.
mindful of that. So when it comes to kind of like that professional reputation and personal brand, it merges with the company brand. That's why there's a company dress policy.
Right.
That's a pet peeve of
I-
Ah,
One other thing that I think we've talked about recently is that there's also the importance of being very clear about who your brand is or what your brand is, right? That sometimes it's very, in this day and age where we can be 50 million different things, that you are clear about what it is that you want to promote at this point in your life. Now, that's an ever evolving picture, right? So tomorrow that may be different, but keep that in mind so that you can transition and help others understand where you're at. So the conciseness of your brand is also important, and keep it current. I think we've all been working on some new branding, personal branding videos and things of that nature for that same reason. It's the ongoing effort. So let me share some key statistics highlighting the importance of personal branding. So these ladies have touched on a few of these already, and I think they're very valid. According to Career Builder, surveys show that 70% of employers are using social media to screen candidates during the hiring process. 70% of employers, right? And 57% of them have found content on social media that caused them to to not hire a candidate. So again, 57% have found content on social media that caused them not to hire a candidate. Very important that you keep your social media presence current. And if there's something in there, hey, delete it. LinkedIn reports that professionals with a strong personal brand are 40% more likely to receive job offers through the platform. You'll be surprised how many people actually tell me, I don't like social media. I don't really want to, especially the guys. They're really bad about that. It's like, oh, they feel like somebody's watching them or something of that nature. But there's a way to be very positive about it, especially if you are looking for the opportunity. When it comes to networking and opportunities as such, the Harvard Business Review states that up to 85% of jobs are filled through networking, emphasizing that the importance of a well-established personal brand in building a strong professional network is critical, right? So that's quite impactful if you think about it. Another study by LinkedIn revealed that 85% of jobs are filled through network, further highlighting the role of personal branding in career advancement, right? So again, networking may not necessarily be in person either. I get requests, I think all of us do, to meet up with people, have a virtual coffee, get to know what we're doing. That's networking, folks. You can definitely do that too. From a social media and online presence, there's a report by Weber and Shanwick that 50% of employees post about their employers online. Kind of not surprising, right? We spend so much time at work. 33% of them share positive comments about their workplace. Makes me think, That's 67% that aren't positive. That's kind of scary. A strong personal brand can positively influence those perceptions and posts. So go back to that old adage about if you don't have something nice to say, maybe better not to say it, right? Especially not on social media where somebody can find it later when you're not mad. The same report indicates that 42% of employees would search for information about a colleague or a potential hire online before deciding to work with them, demonstrating again the need for a positive online personal brand. So I think these are some pretty amazing statistics if you think about it. And I'll leave you with one last one that I think is very important. A LinkedIn survey revealed that employees who engage in personal branding activities are 27% more likely to be promoted and 25% more likely to receive a raise than those who do not. So that should give you a good reason as to why you want to be very good and very clear about a positive personal brand.
And let's think about some indicators, right, that will suggest a personal brand is positively impacting your career. So some of us have thought about this, some of us maybe have never thought about this. So hopefully today, after you stop listening to our podcast, after this podcast ends, you go back and kind of think about what are some of the things that you have done that maybe are impacting your personal brand. So the number one is increased recognition and visibility. If you are building a positive brand, you are being recognized and acknowledged for your expertise and contributions within your industry. That means being able to get called to do presentation, to be a speaker, a guest speaker at specific events because people have recommended. So maybe there are conferences coming up within your industry and you're invited. If you are invited to speak, it's because you have built a very positive brand, which is great. And hence, professional opportunities is number two. You are presented with more job offers, promotions, or opportunities to work on high-profile projects. That is something else that speaks volumes, that someone in a leadership role is trusting that you will be able to deliver on some results that the organization needs. Recruiters and hiring managers reach out to you proactively based on your personal brand. So whenever you do see headhunters reaching out to you on LinkedIn or email, that's a really good sign. That means that more than likely someone, one of your peers, someone that knows you, someone that maybe heard you speak at a conference, recommended you. I know I get a few of those every year, and it's typically because someone recommended. And that is a really good sign that someone is saying something good about you, right? And a lot of times you don't even know who said it. But, it's good that that's happening. Another sign is that you have a strong network and connections. You're able to build and maintain meaningful professional relationships with industry leaders and influencers. If you have presented at a conference before, whether it's by yourself or with a group, you'll notice that oftentimes you start to get a lot of LinkedIn requests after. People look you up and they want to connect with you. They want to stay connected with you to make sure that they follow up on whatever it is that you're doing. That's a really positive sign. Your network actively engages with your content, providing you feedback, endorsements, and recommendations. So when you do post something on LinkedIn or even social media, I know a lot of people have professional Facebook accounts as well, and you see people commenting on your post, that's also a positive sign. Number 4 is increased influence and thought leadership. So your opinions and insights are sought after, and you are seen as a thought leader in your field. Are you a subject matter expert within your field? What are you known for some of those things? Whether it is articles, blogs, social media posts, it's good that you do get invitations for that. And number 5 is positive reputation and credibility. You receive positive feedback on testimonials from colleagues, clients, and peers. Your personal brand is associated with trustworthiness, expertise, and professionalism. So whenever there are committees or special projects being done at your job, do people ask for you feedback? Hey, we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. What do you think about it? Or are you open to coming to a think tank where we are going to discuss an upcoming project? That's a really good sign that your feedback is credible. So those just are the top 5 that I'll share today. But I think it's important that you do recognize some of those positive signs so you can continue doing more of that of whatever it is you did. So leave you with that.
Awesome. Great pointers there, both of you guys. And Whether, again, in a nutshell, building and maintaining a strong personal brand is essential for all of us. Intentionally creating a brand does offer more control and consistency to align with the strategic business goals. However, accidental branding can lead to a more authentic and flexible brand image, but you may face some of those challenges when it comes to consistency and long-term planning. So whatever you do, whatever you decide, make sure that it's aligned with your long-term career success and professional growth.
Yes, great information that you guys just gave on the statistics and the tips. I mean, I know I'm going to go back and look at some of that stuff and look at my brand. But we'd like to thank all of our listeners for joining the pod crew today. This was a really impactful discussion, and I'm sure we could go on and on about this, and we'll probably revisit it again from another angle. But a final thought for you, just remember that your personal brand is what makes you you. So don't try to be somebody else. In the words of Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. So we'd love to hear about your personal brand and how it has helped others. So please share your examples in the comments when we drop this episode. We would love to be able to hear about your brand and just your brand stories or things that are going on with that. So with that said, we hope you learned something new and or came away with something of value on this topic. As promised, here's how to join us as an audience member on our next show episode. We hope you're just as excited as we are. Go to our True Talk Cafe Facebook page and send us a request to attend Season 3, Episode 7 as an audience member. Be sure to use the hashtag TTCS3EP7. Again, that's TTC, S as in Sam, E, P as in Paul, 7. We will respond to your requests with our podcast website link, where you'll need to enter your preferred email address for us to send the audience link. We'll also send all audience members a reminder the day before the show recording. It's going to be so much fun to have you join us live. As always, we welcome your feedback, so please let us know your thoughts about today's show. Leave a comment or a review. We will respond to all comments, so please be nice. We'd love to hear your thoughts about today's topic. Please do not forget to like and rate the episode. We appreciate you tuning in to our podcast, and we hope you joined the TTC Crew Facebook page. Again, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook using @TrueTalkCafe and on X using @TrueTalkCafe1. Please use the hashtag TTCTalks or True Talk Tuesdays. Recommendations for discussion topics are always welcome. We want to ensure we are providing content that is of value to you. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for listening, and we hope you join us on our next podcast episode. It's sure to be an engaging conversation. Talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank y'all.
Adios.